Welcome to In My Opinion, the show where we cash in your 2 cents about whatever, whoever, and wherever.
Take a ride on the wild side.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
His will, Michael Jackson, has asked to be melted down and turned into plastic bags. That way he remains white, plastic, and dangerous to young children.
Yeah, that's just a creepy statement.
Welcome to the third and final episode of In My Opinion. I'm your host, Stojan, and with me as always is my guest, Tyler Grinch. Today we're going to talk about Nebraska's recent hiring of Scott Frost. Our top 5 favorite Christmas movies.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
And North Korea. Are they really as big of a threat as we think they are?
Rocket Man should have been handled a long time ago.
So Nebraska hired Scott Frost today as their new coach, and it looks like things are looking up for the Huskers. Certainly, I don't know how much more down they could have been looking, especially going 4-8, which is the worst that they've gone, I think, in like 50 years. What do you make of this? I mean, your dad went to Lincoln, right, for college?
Yeah, he went to Lincoln. This was back in the early 80s, so he never got to experience like the pinnacle of Nebraska's success, which is like the mid to late 90s. Which is when Scott Frost actually played for the Huskers. I mean, he played NFL for a couple of years. He played for almost 5 teams in 5 years. Kind of forgot what teams. I think the Jets, the Buccaneers,
He played for
Packers,
the Packers.
the Browns.
Yeah. God, the Browns.
And he's had a pretty good coaching career as well. He just came from
UCF, yeah, Central Florida.
They had a pretty good record. I'm actually surprised he left. I think it was a good choice. Obviously, he loves Nebraska. Otherwise, I mean, he wouldn't have came here.
Well, I definitely think the $5 million for 7 years was a good incentive, too. But, I mean, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they do, especially with what's been happening recently with Nebraska. We missed a bowl game this year. One of my buddies was at that Ohio State game, which was kind of midway through the season. I remember before halftime was even over, people were already leaving the stadium. I've never seen the stadium that empty at halftime, and especially in that second half, I've never seen that stadium that empty. It was actually kind of depressing, you know. I think a lot of it has to do with the fans were so spoiled, like you said, in the 90s with all the success that they got. They're probably gonna have to reconcile with the fact that they're never gonna ever reach that level again, and if they do, it's gonna take a long time.
Exactly. I mean, they're kind of cynical, especially the fans. They all think. They're all living in the 90s. They all want the glory of the 90s nostalgia of just winning all the time. That's just not what we're going to do.
Yeah, and plus also I think a lot of it has to do with, I mean, when you look at a lot of these other schools, who wants to come to Cornfield, you know, where, I mean, nothing against the state of Nebraska and its people, you know, but personally I'd rather have access to a beach every day than a field.
I mean, that's a lot of people's incentive.
Nicer weather, you know, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, people who lived in the coast their whole life, they have no idea how brutal Nebraska winter is. I mean,
you wouldn't know it from a day like today. It was 60 degrees out there today.
I don't know what's going on.
That's such a rarity, especially in this state. So how do you think he'll do? I mean, they said that they've already started. Do you think they're going to let him finish off at that bowl game in UCF, or what do you think?
Well, it's always, Stu, I see this in the NFL, NBA. It's always hard. Like, the Grizzlies just went through it. They fired their head coach. It's kind of hard for a coach to come in, not know the players, the atmosphere, or the environment, and just try to pick up where that coach's failures left off. That's really hard. I mean, they're getting the problems, from the root, and they're expected to fix it, not even at the beginning of the season. Their season's already, established. Nebraska's had a horrible season, so, I don't know.
And we're going to delve on to our next topic here. With the Christmas season coming up, one of my favorite things, at least, is, sitting back and, watching all the Christmas movies and stuff that they have on TV. My top 5 personal favorites are Home Alone, classic. How can you go wrong with that?
Of course.
The Grinch.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Animated or live action?
Animated. but the live action is good too. Even though a lot of people, from what I've heard, like they hate that movie. You know,
It's just because it doesn't live up to the cartoon.
Yeah,
that's the only reason. It was a good movie. Let's be honest.
It doesn't. You're right though. It doesn't live up to the cartoon, but at the same time, like Jim Carrey in that role he's funny as hell.
And they're redoing it. I don't know if
I did. I heard about that.
Benedict Cumberbatch will be the Grinch.
See, and I don't know how I feel about that.
I have no comment. I'll have to see it first.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't know if necessarily like I was 6 when that one came out in 2000, and I remember going with my brother to Blockbuster to go and rent the VHS. I was so excited about it, having seen the cartoon multiple times already, you know.
Of course.
And yeah, looking at it, you know, in retrospect, hindsight's 20/20, as they say. I don't know if it's necessarily either like a good movie or did I just like it because I was a kid.
Yes, that's exactly. I have that problem with a lot of movies. You grow up watching movies, and then like later down the road, you realize not only do these movies not stand the test of time, but you only liked them because you were a kid. But you still like them because it gives you that nostalgia factor.
Right.
I think that's a big part of it as well.
And then my third one is It's a Wonderful Life. If you've ever seen that.
That's a classic.
Classic from the 40s. Then Miracle on 34th Street.
Okay.
If you've ever seen that.
Yeah, your list is pretty good.
And also my final one is going to have to be The Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
Are you with Hatsutashi?
No.
Dad wants the turkey.
Oh, yeah, this way.
That's a good one. That captures one of the things I look for in a good Christmas movie is capturing a Christmas spirit, and you can't deny that your number one pick does that very well. And it does all the supernatural stuff. It shows how Santa Claus is able to do that. Fit down really small chimneys, have a small bag, but deliver everything to the rest of the world. That kind of stuff is really cool. Yeah, that was a great top 5.
What about you, man? What are your top 5?
My top 5, number 5 is the animated version of The Grinch. Again,
Classic,
I love Cindy Lou Who. I love all that. Number 4 is Christmas Vacation.
National Lampoon.
Yes, yes.
It's that time. Christmas time is here. Everybody knows there's not a better time of year.
But that also captures a really good Christmas spirit movie on how a family can be so down on its luck with financial issues and just getting along. Everyone is together because they're family. Even though they don't get along, they still kind of tolerate each other. And I don't know. I really like that movie. That one's a really good one. Number 3 is Home Alone. The thing I took away most about that movie is I liked the soundtrack. Everything flowed together so well. Number 2, underrated movie in my opinion. A lot of people disagree with me on this one, but The Polar Express.
All aboard!
Well, you coming?
Where?
Why, to the North Pole, of course. This is the Polar Express.
I love this movie. Now, it's one of those things where the animation, is so good it almost looks like motion capture. It's so weird. And not to mention, this shows how talented, raw talent right here of Tom Hanks. If you guys didn't know, he did 8 voices. He did the bum on top of the train. He did the ticket guy. He did Santa Claus. He did the main elf. And he did the little boy. A lot of people don't know that. He did the main kid in the movie. It's just amazing the way they did it. And to cap it off, my number 1, this is a controversial pick. Bear with me here, but it's Die Hard.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
That's what everybody is going to argue, man.
Yeah,
everybody argues it's a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie. It takes place on Christmas. The Run DMC Christmas songs are ridiculous and funny at the same time. The limo, dude, it has one of the best villains, Hans Gruber. Bruce Willis, that's his best movie.
And to delve on to our third topic, it looks like we might be going to war with North Korea any day. They've already tested a few nuclear weapons recently, and they seem to be launching more and more intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. It seems like on a much more consistent basis. What do you think we should do, I don't know, to sort of deal with this threat? Because it's ever growing, and it's been getting worse. It hasn't been getting any better. Diplomacy can only get you so far.
When it comes to ICBMs, their range is parallel to any other missile. They can go pretty much anywhere in the world. The thing is, the only place they can really attack would be neighboring countries without them shooting it down. South Korea would probably be their main target. They wouldn't probably attack China. But the main point is Trump's aggressive. This is why people liked him in terms of national security. The fact that he loves America and he took the chains off of America, which is why ISIS is losing at a really rapid pace right now. But it's North Korea, I don't think, would go to war with us because they know they would lose. They would know. I mean, they don't have the firepower we do. They don't have the standing army we do. They don't have the technology we do. They don't have, and not to mention, they don't have the allies that we do.
Tyler, with you being an emergency management major, you kind of want to run us through some of the steps of what you would take if a nuclear attack like that happened, especially the aftermath and how we would deal with it as a nation?
Well, with if something like North Korea happened, we would know it was coming, so we'd have time to prepare for it. So, again, you'd probably have to seek certain shelters. You'd have to get non-perishable foods and water in order to stay out there. And then you'd have to find where the disaster hit, when the disaster hit, when it's okay to go to the surface because there might be radiation. I don't think it'd be wise for them to do it because the whole point of North Korea is so that they can continue their family legacy. If they attacked or did anything to us, we'd destroy that. We'd destroy that in a heartbeat. They don't have the resources we do. They don't have the allies. They don't have the army, even the people that we do. So, again, I don't see North Korea really attacking anybody soon. I think they're just trying to, flex on the global stage.
Thanks for catching the latest episode of In My Opinion. Tune in next week for more.